Hey everybody, my name is Stephen Griffin and I'm a professional photographer from Virginia Beach, Virginia, but more importantly, today we're going to be talking about the Surface Book 2. I've had about 3 weeks to really play around and edit photos, videos, so I'm going to let you guys know how that's been going. A number of people have been messaging and commenting asking if I would recommend this for photographers and videographers, so that's what we're gonna aim to find out today. This is, I have to say, one luxurious laptop. When I'm at Starbucks, I feel like $1,000,000, all eyes on me. But is it practical for the working photographer? Let's find out. Alrighty, so the Surface Book 2. There's a lot of ground to cover here. This is a convertible laptop, but it's super powerful and extremely appealing. This thing is beautiful, I have to say. But there's a lot of topics that we need to cover today. So I think I'm gonna break it down to the pros and the cons, and that way we can just kind of breeze through this as quickly as possible. Alright, so starting with the pros of the Surface Book 2, the first pro is gonna have to be the design. Let's face it, people, the whole reason you're probably looking at this laptop is because the design is absolutely revolutionary. The ability to yank off the screen is just the coolest party trick ever. And the ability to just yank it off and, do retouch work or just edit videos in the convenience of your bed without having to sit up is just really cool. Not to mention, whenever I was showing clients photos, I also just pulled off the screen, handed it to them, and their jaws dropped. So you have to take that into account. The design and the overall cool factor is very, very high. Another pro is the ability to pinch, and I know this is small. I'm gonna be nitpicky today. The ability to pinch is just so awesome. When you're editing a photo or a video and you just need to zoom in, just boop, awesomeness. Just zoom in with your fingers. I know it's easy to just, control and hit the plus key, but come on, people. The pinch is what it's all about. And I promise you try and use any other non-touchscreen laptop, you're gonna try and pinch and you're gonna feel stupid. Another pro of the Surface Book 2 has to be the performance. The performance of the Surface Book was phenomenal. I didn't really run into any hiccups whatsoever. Lightroom, Adobe Photoshop, After Effects, it all ran beautifully. So that is one notch that it does have under its belt, and that should give you some confidence if you are thinking of investing in this laptop, is performance-wise, it's not really gonna let you down. Does it have the power of a gaming laptop? Absolutely not. Are you still gonna run into some lagging when you're scrubbing through footage, 4K footage? Absolutely. So, that is something to take into consideration. It's not the most powerful laptop, but for the average creator like myself, you're not going to run into any problems. The next pro has to be the Windows ecosystem. Let me explain this. I've been using Mac or Apple computers for probably about 4 years now, so I kind of have a little bit of a bias. I've felt comfortable. And most people who use Apple products, that's part of the problem. That's the reason they don't want to switch to something like this, is they've become comfortable in the Apple ecosphere. They have iCloud, their Apple devices, they all sync together, and it just really works beautifully. Now, luckily, Windows has a ecosystem of its own. Granted, I must say, the way that Apple integrates all their products together is beautiful, and Windows is playing catch-up here, but you can rest assured that Windows does have a comparable ecosystem that you can learn to adapt to. One thing I can say about the Windows ecosystem is it's more manual. Where the Apple ecosystem is automatic, it kind of just syncs without your knowledge. The Windows ecosystem, it's more, you kind of have to do the work yourself. You have to make the OneDrive account, you have to make the Google Drive account, you have to sync up your phone, download the app, all that good stuff. Whereas with the Apple, it just works seamlessly. So that's one thing to take into consideration. But you can rest assured that the ecosystem of the Windows is comparable to that of Apple's. Now, the next pro, I know this is small, again, but I love the keyboard. It just feels really clicky, and it feels, it's awesome. It's just a keyboard, and that's small. That's really small, but I do actually prefer this keyboard to that of the 2018 Apple MacBook Pros. I don't like the butterfly keys. I just love the clickiness, and I love the distance, or the travel rather. So that is one small little pro, is the keyboard. If you're a writer, or you use it for school, I think that could be a reason you might want this laptop. Now, taking a step back and talking about the touchscreen, that is one fantastic thing about using it in tablet mode, is the editing process is very immersive. It's very easy to just lay down, kick your feet up, just hold the tablet and just edit away. Just, pour yourself a glass of wine and just... But you also have to take into consideration that that's not very practical for the working photographer like myself. I personally edited a wedding, an entire wedding, using this laptop. Now, you better believe that I did not use it in tablet mode, for very long anyways. Yeah, I had a good start. I probably edited, a good 50 photos using the tablet mode, but even with the tablet functionality of Lightroom, it's just so slow. And the working photographer, unless you're doing high-end retouching, is not ever gonna use this in tablet mode, in my opinion. If you shoot weddings, events, or anything where you have to edit or bulk edit, you are not going to want to use this in tablet mode, which kind of is a huge bummer, because as a wedding and event photographer, that really kills the whole point of having a touchscreen to begin with. So that was a major letdown. Not to mention, using it in the touchscreen mode, it just slows down your video editing as well. So ultimately, editing in the touchscreen, or the touch mode, or the tablet mode rather, is just very impractical. And it's really just a luxury. So it is a fantastic experience, but ultimately I would imagine that most photographers and videographers are not going to use this in tablet mode. Which leads me to one of the cons, and I'll get back to the pros, but one of the cons is the fact that the screen never really wants to attach the first time you try it. It's like putting in a USB stick. It's never the right way the first time. Now I know, again, this is small and it's user error, but it's just one of those things that's going to become extremely annoying over time. I can't say that I've ever secured it to the keyboard the first time ever yet. There's always one connector that isn't lined up, and it does help that it's magnetic, but nevertheless, that's a con. So another pro of the Surface Book 2 is going to have to be the display. The display is just gorgeous, and using it in the tablet mode, it's just, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's very similar to Apple products. I know it's not exactly the same technology, but in my opinion, you shouldn't really need to calibrate it, at least in my experience. I didn't have any issues. I know some people said that it's a little warmer on the Surface Book 2, but viewing it on Apple devices, photos exported or edited on the Surface Book 2, I couldn't tell the difference. So the display, phenomenal. And I think that videographers and photographers are really gonna love that. Now, one last really cool pro is gonna have to be the pen. I mean, the pen is just very well designed, and also not to mention there's no setup. Right out of the box, as you guys saw, it just works, and well, it kind of works. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the cons, shall we? The first one, it's a small one, but the Windows updates are just super annoying. And yeah, I know it's small and typically you can decline, but I have experienced where I'll just open it up, turn it on, and we're updating. And now I have to wait 5 minutes to use my laptop. Now, again, this isn't a huge deal, but in a crunch, this could be extremely frustrating. So I have to add it to the cons list. Another pro/con is Windows security is top notch. Coming from Apple, one of my concerns was the prospect that I could get a virus on my Windows laptop if I'm not careful. Where on Apple, I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to get any malware on my computer. Now, I have to say, the Windows security is top-notch. Downloading a program is the equivalent of launching a nuclear missile. You have to go through all these different messages and dialog boxes before it actually allows you to download the software, which actually can be a little tedious. So that's why it's a pro, and it's also a con. Now, one of the more serious cons, and this has been my personal experience, is that the first 2 weeks of using this laptop, the screen froze a lot. In fact, you even saw that in the unboxing video. Now, the firmware, the updates, they're all up to date. I took liberties to try and resolve this on my own to make sure that it's nothing that I'm doing. But even with everything up to date, the Surface Pen paired correctly, I still experienced the touchscreen drivers would just go out or just quit working. And this happened specifically when I'm using Adobe Premiere. For whatever reason, when I'm using Premiere, the touchscreen capability or functionality will just cease. And it's extremely frustrating. You know, when you pay this kind of money for a touchscreen laptop, you shouldn't have to deal with that. So what I would have to do is I'd have to go in, reset the touchscreen drivers, and that would typically resolve the issue. But I found that sometimes I just had to restart the laptop and that would do it. But again, when I'm, deep into a project, that's not something I really want to have to ever worry about, especially when you're spending this kind of money on a laptop. Now, another con, since we're talking about the screen here, is that when you open it up, the Surface Book loves to just turn off. It doesn't really go into this idle sleep mode that my MacBook likes to go into no matter how long it's been closed. If I leave this closed for a few hours, when I flip it back up, I'm met with a black screen. Now, this is just a small annoyance, but I just love flipping it up and getting right into it. It's just annoying having to press the button on top. I can't remember the last time I had to use the power button on my MacBook, which may not be good in regards to, maintaining my MacBook, but, it's a workhorse and I've never really had to worry about durability. Speaking of durability, the fact that Windows doesn't really support repairs on this laptop, typically they're just gonna send you a brand new one. It's a little disconcerting. It's a little disheartening to hear that. So that makes it even more terrifying, the prospect of dropping this thing, especially when in tablet mode. I said it was a pro that you could remove the screen and then, give it to a client so that they can view images, but at the same time, I'm not sure if I would trust my client holding this $3,000 tablet. Another con is, it's a pro/con again, and that's gonna be the Hello Smile. So when you flip it up, you have the ability to sign in using your face. Now, when I first set this up, it worked beautifully, and it even worked in super low light conditions just using the light of the screen, and that's really awesome. But what I noticed is I shaved whatever this was in my unboxing video, and all of a sudden it could not recognize me. So whether this is a pro or a con is really up to you. For females, you get a haircut or you dye your hair, you would have to recalibrate it as well. So for both genders, this could be a nuisance. So another con of this is that when you do use it in the tablet mode, you can't use your macros. This doesn't work as a Bluetooth keyboard. So it really slows down the editing progress for videos and photos. So what I found I had to do is I just had to use the on-screen keyboard, but even that was just really annoying. And again, that really ruined the prospect of ever using the screen and tablet mode to edit photos or videos. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Now, the last thing I do have to touch on, and I know this has been covered in every other review, the headphone jack is really inconveniently placed. And I know that's not a huge deal, and it wasn't a huge nuisance, but just the fact that the cord, when I use wired headphones, just dangles over the keyboard is really annoying. I understand they had to do something so that you could use the tablet in tablet mode and still use your headphones, but just, come on guys, could you not have put it at the bottom, Really annoying, but again, super small. And one thing I do want to note before I forget is that I really do appreciate an SD card slot. For photographers like myself, that makes it super convenient for me to just load my images right onto the computer without having to worry about adapters or anything like that. So the last con would have to be the price. This thing is super, super expensive, and that is kind of a tough pill to swallow, especially in regards to what you're getting. I mean, you're getting a fairly capable laptop, but you know, the MacBook is comparable. And you can get a much more powerful laptop like a Alienware or just a gaming laptop for much cheaper. So you're really paying a premium price for just the quality of the design and just the cool factor, or the style, the design of the removable screen. So that's gonna move me to my last point, and that is that if you're not going to be using this in the tablet mode, this is not the laptop for you. The working photographer, unless, like I said, you do high-end retouching, you're never going to use this in the tablet mode. So if you are a graphic designer, you do, you know, a lot of illustration, this could be perfect for you. So that is gonna do it, people. The Surface Book 2. This thing is very cool. It's interesting, it's phenomenal, it's eye candy, it's got gimmicks, it's got party tricks, it's a jack of all trades and perhaps a master of none. But undoubtedly it is the #1 convertible in the market right now. So if you are going to be using this in the tablet mode, no question, I would buy it tomorrow. But if you're like me and you typically have to edit a large number of photos at a time, or you edit large videos, not just small little clippets, this isn't probably the best choice for you. I would recommend a gaming laptop or even the new MacBooks. That was just my experience. This could be a great laptop for you, but that is going to be for you to decide. So I hope that this video was insightful. I hope that I shed a little bit of light on the capabilities and the downfalls of this laptop. I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys around.